Toucan Play That Game is proudly sponsored by NiceGameShop.com, the place to go for rare and unusual Asian games. Hey there, I'm Michael. Join me as I teach you how to play Pandemic by Z-Man Games, a co-op game where you're all members of the CDC working together to eliminate the world's diseases. You'll start setting up the game by placing your board out on the table, then place your infection marker on the first 2 space and your outbreak marker on the 0. 4 disease tokens place near the diseases on the board. Then take the player deck with all the locations and shuffle in your events. Then for a 4-player game, deal each player 2 cards, for a 3-player game 3 cards, and for a 2-player game 4 cards. And pick a number of epidemic cards for the difficulty you want. For a first game it's recommended 4 for an easy game or 6 for a hard game. So we'll set up with 4 here. And you then want to split these cards into 4 piles that are roughly equal. You can, if you want, deal the cards out to ensure they are precisely equal. However, this way you just don't know exactly when one of these cards is going to come up. Then shuffle each one of these piles, and if you have a smaller pile, make sure it goes on the bottom. If they're all fairly even, it shouldn't matter, and you'll just, as you've shuffled them, stack them all up so over the course of the game you'll hit those epidemic cards. And you place these on your player deck. Then shuffle the roll cards and deal 1 to each player, placing their matching coloured pawns at Atlanta along with a research station. The rest you'll put in an available pool near the board. Then take the infection deck and shuffle it up, placing it on the infection deck space of the board. You will then reveal 3 cards and then find the city of the card revealed. So Montreal is here, and we place 3 cubes of that card's colour. And then our second one, and the third one. You then reveal 3 more cards, and each one only gets 2 cubes. And then you do the same again, but this time with 1 cube. You're then ready to begin, and each player will look at the cards in their hand and look at the city population on the cards. Whoever has the highest number will be your first player. And the aim of the game is going to be to cure these 4 diseases. Once all 4 are cured, you win the game. The game can also end if the outbreaks reach 8, or you're unable to place the required number of disease cubes on the board. And the final way it can end is if a player needs to draw cards from the player deck and there are no cards to draw. You'll cure a disease by collecting sets of cards. Once you have 5 cards of the right colour, you can then go to a research station and trade in those 5 cards to cure a disease. Each player's turn is simple. They first do 4 actions and they then draw 2 cards from the player deck. You then resolve any epidemics that come out and then discard down to 7 cards, which is the limit for your hand, and you then perform the Infect Cities stage. There are 8 options for actions that a player can perform on their turn, and these are all listed on the player aid. Each action can be done multiple times, so you can do multiple drive ferries, for example. The first and simplest action is drive or ferry, which allows you to move from the city you're in to any connected city connected by a line. So I can't go straight to Mexico, but I could go Miami, then Mexico, and that would be 2 actions using 2 drives. The next action is direct flight, allowing you to discard any 1 card from your hand in order to travel to that location. So say I wanted to jet set across the world to Bangkok, I could discard that card and then move my piece from Miami to Bangkok. The next action requires you to have the card in hand of the city where you are, and this is chartered flight. So if I was in Bangkok and I have the Bangkok card, I can discard the Bangkok card to fly anywhere. So I could jump across to Istanbul here, for example. Next is shuttle flight, which allows you to use the research stations to go from one station to the other as a single action. But you won't be able to do that at the start of the game because there's just the one research station on the board. Which brings us to the next action of building a research station. So again, if you have the card of the town where you are, of the city you're in, so here I have Milan and I'm in Milan, I can discard the card as an action to build a research station. The next action is one of the most important actions, and that is to treat disease. So if you're in a city that has disease cubes, you can use an action to remove one cube. And if you have found the cure for that disease already, instead of it only removing one cube, it would remove all of the cubes. The next action is to share knowledge with someone who's in the same town as you. So if you're in the same town, you can either give or receive the card for that town. So in this case, if green had Milan and it was their turn, they could give Milan to the black player, or the black player, if it was green's turn, could give Milan to the green player as an action. Final action is to cure a disease, and this requires you to have 5 cards in hand of that disease's colour. So in this case I have 5 blue, so I could discard these 5 blue cards in order to cure the blue disease. Having done my 4 actions, I would then draw 2 cards. So I would draw these and add them to my hand. If it's a normal city card, it will just add in. The same with an event. Now I haven't yet mentioned events. Events state that they can be played at any time and they do not count as an action, and you simply gain the benefit stated on the event card. If I had more than 7 cards, I would then have to discard down, and it's on to infect cities, where we reveal a number of cards equal to the infection rate. So in this case it's 2, and we add a disease cube to each one. So I'd add one here to Lima, and then Shanghai. If at any time when adding disease cubes you would add it to a city that already has 3 cubes, you instead trigger an outbreak. So you move the outbreak marker on and you place 1 cube in every connected city of the original city's colour of disease. So it is possible to get red disease in a black city. And it is possible, if you had enough cubes in elsewhere, for it to then trigger another outbreak. So you can get a chain reaction. It would then be the next player's turn, who would do their actions and then draw cards. Again, drawing off the deck and adding them to their hand, unless they're an epidemic card. You then resolve the steps listed on the card. So the first one is to increase, moving the infection rate up 1 along this track. Then for infect, you take the bottom card off of the infection deck and add it to the discards, and add 3 disease cubes to the indicated city. So Mexico City in this case would get 3. The final thing to do is intensify. So you take your infection discard pile and you shuffle it. Then place it on the top of the deck. Now, because the infection deck only has 1 card for each city, this means that previously you'd been infecting cities you hadn't infected, but now you're going to be adding cubes to cities you've just infected. And you'll keep playing like this until either you have cured or 4 of the diseases, winning you the game, or the outbreaks reach the end of the track, losing you the game, or there are no player cards to draw, losing you the game, or you run out of a disease cube to place on the board, losing you the game. So as you can see, more ways to lose than win in this. The final thing I haven't spoken about yet is the other side of these cure tokens. They have a crossed out. It's possible to sunset a disease, meaning not only is it cured, but it will never occur again. This is done if you manage to cure a disease and then remove all cubes of that colour from the board. You've then sunsetted, you ignore any cards that would require you to put cubes of that colour out on the board. And that is how you play Pandemic. I do hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you have, please do check out the rest of the videos on the channel, as well as subscribing and sharing. And as always, thanks for watching, and bye for now.